I have a dream that I will share with you all today, and I suspect that it will resonate with many of you. My dream is that we collectively raise a whole generation of children who are happy, healthy, and resilient, and they will go on to become a whole generation of healthier human beings. We can do this by harnessing the power of relationships. Decades of research has confirmed that humans are a social species, and that people who have positive, close relationships tend to live happier, healthier, and longer lives. In fact, one study showed that the single most important predictor of happiness and longevity is positive social connections. The first connections we make are those with our parents or primary caregivers, and it is through these relationships that we continually learn about ourselves, the world around us, and they shape the way we view relationships for the rest of our lives. As a pediatrician, I treat a variety of conditions, including many mental health and lifestyle-related conditions, such as depression, anxiety, eating disorders, diabetes, obesity, many of which we are seeing in younger and younger ages. As I think about such issues, often, what's striking is that they represent downstream effects, when we need to be thinking upstream about prevention. Instead of putting out fires, we need to stop them at the source, in childhood. It's something that connects us all. Once upon a time, we were all kids. Children come into this world wholly, uniquely, and perfectly themselves. As Don Harold said, babies are such a nice way to start people. They come into this world with their own genetic makeup, their temperaments, things we largely cannot change. And they enter into environments full of people, places, and things that they interact with regularly, much of which we can change. And it is through these relationships with people and their environments that children learn and grow. So let's take a closer look at these environments. You can see here the child at the center, and the next layer has the primary caregivers or parents, followed by the broader community. That's anybody who influences a child, whether directly or indirectly, and that is all of us. These relationships feed back on one another. They're reciprocal. So if we want to build an environment in which children can flourish, then we must be focusing on developing these relationships. Now, there is another very important relationship being formed simultaneously, and that is the relationship the child has with themselves. Their inner experience of themselves, what they say, think, and feel about themselves. Just as children are learning to walk, talk, eat, dress, and undress, learn empathy for others, to learn to communicate with others, I want to highlight that they are also learning to understand and love themselves. Their thought processes, their emotions, their bodily sensations, their likes, their dislikes, their abilities, and integrating all of these processes, and we, on the outside, will never truly understand a child's inner world as well as they themselves can, if we enable this. Developing a connection with their own internal experience is known as interoception. And it is the most important relationship that any child or adult has. And it must be nurtured. It most directly ties to our health and well-being. But as it is developing during a vulnerable period, it is prone to impairment. Caregivers must be alert and aware of how to proactively enhance a child's developing sense of self. One great tool that is useful across our lifespans is mindfulness, which is non-judgmental awareness, which involves being aware of the present moment and our surroundings and our internal state, and acknowledging without judgment our thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. A recent literature review found that mindfulness practices in children supported self-regulation. Some studies even show that it can help with school performance, ADHD, sleep, anxiety, depression, eating disorders, many of the conditions we are seeing today. The benefits for adults have been even more well studied. Mindfulness principles are used in the fields of psychology, counseling, and coaching today. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends or encourages teachers to include mindfulness into their curriculums. This skill is vital for kids to learn and strengthen throughout their lives. And what's more, through mindfulness, parents can enhance their parent-child relationship, and also parents and teachers can enhance their own well-being. Mindfulness is a superpower. It can include paying non-judgmental attention of anything happening in the moment. You could be mindful right now about how things are feeling in your body or how this talk is feeling for you. If a child is experiencing a challenging situation, a mindful approach may be to ask them, how does it feel in your body? And giving them tools such as box breathing or grounding tools involving the senses. Remembering that no one answer is better than another, and nothing that they report, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, or smelling is right or wrong, good or bad. It just is. If you practice this with children in your lives, mindfulness can become their superpower. Some kids get tummy aches before going to school, and many in my clinic will let me know that it's because they feel nervous about something. The mind and the body are connected, so this makes perfect sense. Emotions, especially unprocessed ones, can show up in our bodies as tummy aches, headaches, racing heart, shaking or sweaty hands, and this can feel quite scary for children. Mindfulness allows kids to enhance their mind and body connection through their senses, giving them an internal sense of control in the overwhelm. Here's an example of mindful eating that helped my daughter when she would gag on foods that had different textures in a spoonful, like minestrone soup. I encouraged her when the bowl was presented to use her senses. What does it smell like? What colors do you see? What vegetables do you see? With each mindful bite, how does it feel on your tongue or your palate? Is it hot, cold, warm? Does it taste sweet, salty, sour? What textures do you feel? Hard, soft, mushy, crunchy? And when you chew it, does it change texture, flavor, or temperature? Can you guess what vegetable is in your mouth? When we did this, she did not gag and has since not gagged on any foods. This mindfulness practice can be used in pretty much any other aspect of a child's life as they're developing a relationship with their bodies in the context of new experiences. For example, trying new foods, learning a new skill, such as toileting, sleep training, maybe even having to try on clothes that they don't really like the texture of, to name a few. Mindful eating in adult studies has been shown to reduce emotional eating, and it also has been helpful in treating eating disorders and weight loss. Imagine the impact of treatment tools as preventative tools. Building healthier connections earlier may prevent illness later, or at the very least, provide people with robust tools to manage them. Now, moving to the parent-child relationship. A healthy relationship is protective against unavoidable life stressors, and the benefits of this last a lifetime and beyond through intergenerational transmission. Adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, are potentially traumatic events that a child may have, for example, abuse, food insecurity, witnessing violence, to name a few. ACEs can affect learning and development and can impact their physical and mental health in the long term. Many of these issues we're seeing today. In studies of ACEs, the modifiable factor that most clearly protects children from these harmful effects is having one safe, stable, nurturing relationship with a caring adult, particularly in the first 3 years of life, but it's never too late. That relationship helps build resilience to thrive through life's challenges, enhancing wellness and reducing the risk of illness later on. Children can also be the most powerful motivators for behavior change. Parents ask me regularly to help them build healthy habits so they can model this for their children and live longer for them. Expecting parents quit smoking during pregnancy, a feat that takes on average 6 quit attempts otherwise. My own father, who smoked long before he knew of the negative health effects, quit smoking cold turkey when we were very young because he didn't want to model this. He also did not want to hide it and model dishonesty. Be the change you wish to see by being the adult you wish for children to one day become. Parenting is a lifelong learning journey requiring a growth mindset and perspective shift. And if we pay attention, it can motivate us toward positive behavior change. One thing I've learned in my parenting journey so far is that whenever I encounter a challenging interaction with my child, it's actually an opportunity for connection. A challenging interaction is an opportunity for connection. And inevitably, when I let myself down, I use the mantra, I'm still learning. I take accountability and I try again because it's never too late to connect with our children. Connection may more easily develop with a newborn because most people understand that crying is their primary tool for communication. They cry, their parent tries to figure out why. Are they hungry? Are they hot? Once they've solved the problem, the child stops crying. If this serve and return interaction happens consistently enough, a child learns to feel safe and secure and builds a healthy attachment. Consistency is key throughout their lifespans. As they get older, children's needs and feelings become more complex, and they communicate in different ways. For example, using their words, their hands, their bodies through tantrums. Trying to figure out why may take a little bit more work, but it's worth it. Hands up if you've ever seen a child have a tantrum before. Having experienced my fair share as a parent, I know it can be challenging, but often, believe it or not, these are ways in which, much like a newborn, a child is seeking connection and communicating their needs with the tools that they have. Tantrums represent an external representation of what a child is experiencing internally, so they may make very little sense to us, but they are very real experiences for the child that we grown-ups need to coach them through. And as they grow, our coaching skills, too, must adapt alongside. As parents, particularly in the early years, we serve as a bridge between our child and the world around them. We can help a child process the input received, understand their own internal experience of it, and then come up with tools for how to respond to that input in such a way that is socially acceptable while maintaining authenticity. No pressure, though. Now let's talk about the child in the context of the community, and that is us. Building social connections and a sense of community not only supports families, but also benefits the well-being of society as a whole. Children can be the most powerful motivators for societal change, too. They present a common source of joy and advocacy for many. Outside of primary caregivers, we have other family members, friends, teachers, doctors, and community supports. The community includes everyone who interacts with or influences a child, the modern-day village. After all, it takes a village to raise a child. Even if you don't interact with children or think this doesn't apply to you, I invite you to challenge that thought. At least in a democratic country, all citizens, by voting for one party or another, or by not voting at all, still impact the environment in which children grow. Now, it would be impossible to list all of the ways in which we as their community can enhance the well-being of children, but instead I'd invite you to think about your role in society and how you can positively impact the life and the experience of children, especially in the early years. Here's a recent example. A few weeks ago, my young daughter and I went shopping at a local store. When the cashier rang us through, he started doing magic tricks for her. She was delighted. It took a few extra moments, but she left there beaming, and all the grown-ups around were smiling too. Through the child, the cashier connected us all. Even in these small interactions with a magic trick, a joke, or a smile, we all have the ability to make life a little bit better. Happiness has been shown to affect 3 degrees of separation from us, so imagine the far-reaching impacts from this interaction alone. Loneliness has been found to cause death at rates as high as smoking. Where loneliness is an epidemic, connection is the solution. As community pediatricians, my colleagues and I have the privilege of looking after children's health and well-being in the context of their families and communities, considering the social determinants of health. which the World Health Organization defines as the non-medical factors that influence health outcomes. These include many factors, some of which are the employment and education status of parents, housing, food insecurity, and early childhood development. This approach allows us to create personalized care plans. We realize that just as no two kids are alike, neither are their family circumstances, and what helps one child or family may not necessarily do the same for another. So in order to help children flourish, we need to help their parents too. By collaborating with the family and taking into account their unique values, goals, and barriers. One new exciting approach is social prescribing, where doctors can connect families to community services at no cost to the family. Social prescribing involves collaborating with community services to meet a child's non-medical, health-related social needs. This may look like connecting them to food literacy programs, extracurricular activities, or passes to provincial parks. The possibilities are endless. Can you think of a service that you may be able to provide for kids and families that you'd like to see a doctor prescribe for them? Studies show that children experience better mental and physical well-being when a community supports this practice. Another way I'm connecting with children in the wider community is through social media, which is a newer frontier for many physicians. My project aims to enhance children's health literacy, where I utilize modern science and ancient wisdom. I write and speak at events such as this wonderful TEDxMcMasterU, where I have the honor and privilege of sharing my message with young minds, bright minds like yours today. Children are the future, and they are also the present, and it is in the present that we have the opportunity to affect the future. The child's experience of their childhood matters, and the earlier we enhance this experience, the greater the impact and far-reaching. As Neil Postman said, children are the living messages we send to a time we will not see. Children are the most powerful motivators for change, and if we lean into that, we can build not only healthier generations, but healthier societies. So I ask you all, do you envision a generation of kids who are happy, healthy, and resilient? I challenge you to connect with a child today. You could change the world. Thank you.